the next thing we're going to is, and again, I think they just left on the Marge filter on Matt, or who can say? I mean, maybe it's just he's carbo loading sometimes. Yes, math is hard. It's hard. Where can I find your intro outro song to listen to? It makes my morning better. I made it up. It's mine. So I suppose I can. I'll tell you what. I'll add it to the list of shit I need to do. But I will put it on my website as a download. When does Dipshit Jr. come on? After this one. We're gonna go Matt. Matt's only 10 minutes, and then we'll go to the Don Jr. Who will largely, these guys will be saying, I guess, a lot of the same thing. But this is Biden, Matt Gaetz. Biden had to ask the Chinese spy balloon for its pronouns. Look, I understand that when you've only got one punchline, you're forced in certain situations to staple it onto setups that just don't make any fucking sense. And this is yet another one of those examples. It like it's like hammering a callback from a bad sitcom nobody watched over and like, oh my God, we're still doing fucking whinging about fucking pronouns.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and children of all ages.
Please welcome from Florida.
The place where, the capital of Florida, man.
Congressman Matt Gaetz.
I'm a firebrand coming on down. I'm a firebrand, all walking on. I'm tough as nails, but I look like big boy. I'm walking red carpet, standing on a thing that looks really like a penis. I've seen men slap through a sorry. Apologize. It does look like something that Matt Schlapp drew on a cocktail napkin, and I do mean cocktail.
Thank you very much.
I would like to point out, by the way, that, and I don't know if this is a factor of the camera work there, it could be just shit production. But while there is plenty of red and white and blue in the background, the carpet that Matt is standing on is indeed pink, which we all know is feminine, gay, and not masculine at all, and therefore not America and awful, and obviously will turn you gay if you stand on it for so long. So that's why he's going to be keeping his speech relatively short, because you can't be around pink too much unless you're wearing unironically wearing a pink button-down shirt like a preppy at an elite university where all these guys go, and yet they hate the people who went there. I hope that's clear as mud.
Thank you for that warm reception. If you don't mind me saying so, I think vindication looks pretty good on me.
They're not pressing charges right now because the girl is scared to talk because she might end up in a swamp.
But there is no time to celebrate. I sense...
That's right. There is definitely. CPAC is not a celebration this year.
A true uneasiness around our country right now. Here at home...
Yeah, I got news for you, dude. That's just people when you're around them. All creeps feel that way, dum-dum. There's a great uneasiness. Everybody, I see people, I talk to people all the time, and all of them are like, ugh, and it can't be me.
We see
because I got to say, that is not my experience. I have to say that in my interactions with humanity, life is pretty easy going right now. I'm seeing a lot of happy people when I'm out and about.
Layoffs by the thousands. We're concerned that the jobs for Americans aren't generating higher wages.
Yeah, that's what you're concerned about.
More and more companies are suspending their plans for promotions and capital investment and growth. It bears a stark and concerning contrast to the roaring Trump economy, where we made things and produced things and were the envy of the world.
Okay, none of that is true. Honest to God, what are we talking about? The fucking carrier plant? The USMCA increased production and plants in Mexico. It lowered the tariffs back and forth. It did not increase material production of anything. Manufacturing didn't expand during the Trump years in any meaningful way. And any area where it did, you're coming out of the Obama era, and then it starts to dip down. We head into a recession. The beginning of in February of 2020, we hit a recession officially before shutdowns and all that shit. Does anybody remember, or am I the only fucking person that remembers Trump basically screaming at the Fed to make negative interest rates so that he could refinance the debt bubble that he had put forward and not have to pay for any of it? For fuck's sake. Never mind the jobs lost and the lives lost during his handling of COVID.
And there seems to be no end in sight for the government-induced inflation that the Biden administration would want to visit upon all of us.
Yes, they're doing it on purpose. It's a way of forcing you to consume less. That's the whole goal. I don't have to tell it. I mean, you guys all know that. And if I may, where are the hold on, let me open up the right. What window am I opening? Okay, hold on. The Axios article from a bit ago. Here. Yes, it's the Biden administration that is forcing you to just, take your expectations in life down a notch. Don't get things, don't buy stuff, don't go on vacations, don't explore, don't go on vacations or, oh wait, you are? Oh, more than you have been in years? Oh, even if it's slightly more expensive because supply chains are being rearranged post-COVID? Yeah, there it is. Right in line with where it was going. Yep, it's up. It even fucking spiked up after a slight normalization. I mean, these all go. Boop, boop. Look at that. Look at that little jump right there. Here's a hint about why inflation remains stubbornly high in January. American spending accelerated after a few months of trending down. Driving the news, personal consumption expenditures data out Friday shows that even after adjusting for inflation, spending rose 1.1% in January from the month before. That's the biggest monthly percentage increase since March 2021 during peak reopening fervor. Why it matters? The Fed's been working hard to try and quell demand in its battle against inflation. Yeah, but the problem is, it's not monetary inflation, fucko. But yeah, so this is all Biden trying to make you aim low, America. That's the goal.
And when we look to the world, it's not much different.
I don't know. It's almost like it's caused by global supply chains. It's almost as if the United States is like doing way better than other people. It's so odd. I don't even know how that's even possible.
We've got a president who stumbles up and down the stairs of Air Force One
and still manages to pass an infrastructure bill.
His policies stumble across Europe.
I think that looked better on paper.
I think we had to spend 4 or 5 days asking the Chinese spy balloon what its pronouns were before we were willing to shoot it down.
So I guess the follow-up joke would be, we shot it down because it was a he, and it was white, and it was an attack on a white male. That's the.
And so in times of concern.
Yes, let me after a cute vaguely transphobic, anti-Chinese balloon joke that was a dud, quite frankly, that popped even sooner than the balloon itself and sank to the depths of the sea. Let me take a serious moment to address serious issues. That seriously, where was I?
Throughout all of human history,
Uh-huh.
people have looked to leaders for inspiration. And
That's right. Genghis Khan, Hitler, Shrek, everybody.
courage and guidance.
And Kool-Aid and orders to murder the neighboring tribe. And
increasingly, when Americans look to Washington, D.C., we see but husks of humans.
you work there.
Vessels through which the foreign interests abroad and the special interests here at home operate.
That's no way to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And so
Actually, it is. Actually, now that I think of it, it actually is. It's actually a pretty good way to talk about it. It's a pretty good description
I am proud to stand before you as the only Republican in the United States
Who can't get any donors.
Congress who refuses all donations from every lobbyist and political action committee.
Because they're too low.
Their money is no good with me. I work for you and you alone.
No, you work for your dad's, a district where your dad has a house. Mm-hmm. Whoops, sorry. I don't know why it didn't play. He angers you? Don't let him. Please. Again, think take a moment to appreciate Matt Gaetz. How you're turd polishing again. And you're right. Yes, that's true. But let's take a moment. First of all, there is a glass ceiling on this dude's career that is thicker than Arctic ice, and is impermeable by a nude swimmer trapped under it. That said, he is relegated to short-term Florida politics and will be hoisted by his own petard eventually. A series of shit decisions of his own making. Just count on it. Secondly, what has been his biggest claim to fame so far, besides being a social media dickhead, which, by the way, he blends in with every other, like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and Crowder's gang and all that, and Glenn Beck. What's the fucking difference? They're all saying the same stupid shit. It's a different dispenser for the same shitty toothpaste. It's just a mild variation in vessel. But what's his biggest claim to fame so far? The most embarrassing speaker's race in the history, in modern history, in the House. That's it. He was partially responsible for holding up and embarrassing those assholes for days, effectively neutering anything that they would want to actually get accomplished for real, and only giving in when he was blackmailed. You ain't got nothing to fear from Matt fucking Gaetz.
I am on a mission to change Washington, D.C., because Washington is a deeply corrupt place.
But what are you trying to change then? The depth of the corruption?
You saw the work of that mission during the election of the Speaker earlier this year. And if you believed the mainstream media, we wanted crazy things. We were this wild group of radicals who actually thought we should have a few days to read legislation before we vote on it.
Yeah, but then as soon as you voted on the rules, you voted on things that hadn't been posted for those days. And so far, you have not kept that promise on all but, like, what, 2 bills?
We had extreme ideas, like the bills before our consideration should comport to a single subject. so that I wouldn't have to vote on the farm bill the same time I'm voting on war powers in Yemen.
I can barely read one thing, much less two.
We thought we really could send a shock through the system.
Isn't it odd that he would bring that up, and some weird thing about how some Saudi-financed Republican insists on funding for the Saudis to fight the war in Yemen, or they won't vote for the farm bill?
With a requirement that the amendments to bills actually be germane to the subject area of the bill. We thought that bureaucrats who...
By the way, which will limit the number of bills they can pass, period, because of time.
...would turn against...
Which I'm fine with.
...the American people should have their salaries singled out so we could vote against them. Imagine if we could have voted against the salary of Dr. Fauci years ago. What a better place America would have been.
Or we'd still be in the depths of the AIDS epidemic.
And instead of governing by omnibus...
And by the way, if you just think that everybody who comes to Florida gets that weird Jeb Bush shoulder flip-floppy awkward stance, you're wrong. I brought this from the Panhandle fresh.
Where our representatives have to look at some multi-thousand page piece of legislation that spends $1.7 trillion, where you got to vote for the VA at the same time you're voting for the Department of Education, where you're...
Yes, which are obviously no veteran ever fought so that American children could be educated.
You're having to vote for the equipment for our troops the same time you're voting for the woke policies of the Department of Labor. We will never...
Woke policies at the Department of Labor. You mean non-discrimination rules?
Legislate by omnibus again. We will individually consider the budgets of the agencies of our government and give them the thorough review that they deserve.
And by the way, this is going to be a fun year as each of those go through, and the deals that have to be made, and everybody will go, motherfucker. I thought, you know what? It'd be just easier if we had one big fight instead of the same fucking fight every time.
Perhaps
before we pass it, just like we would.
The most important concession that we received.
You know, he watches hours of George W. Bush video to get the mannerisms right.
During that fight was the establishment of a special group of legislators to analyze the weaponization of this government against our people.
Yeah, it's happening. The weaponization of our people against the government. No, of the government against our people. No. Of the, all right, can we, yeah, how about that? Yeah, that's a good idea. Can we vote on the salary of individual members of Congress? That's a great idea. That Americans get to vote on, there's obviously a window, fair labor practices, high and low, and the public gets to vote on how much a congressperson makes in that window. And if the people of the state want the person to make more, they can fund it. How about that? I think that's a great idea. There was, hold on one second. Let's see. All right, back up. There was something, hold on.
During that fight was the establishment of a special group of legislators to analyze the weaponization of this government against our people.
Our people. Interesting. Not the people. Our people. Us. They're coming for us. Recently, hold on. The response to the Jan 6. Hold on. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Well, this is how well this is working out. House Dems call Jim Jordan's bluff, dare him to have his whistleblowers testify in public. Yeah, come on down. Blow the whistle. Don't just throw a whistle on the table as you walk by. Where did this whistle come from? Aren't you supposed to? I mean, you get whistleblower protections. That's why you get them, so you can come out. Then that was, of course, immediately followed by this. Jim Jordan threatens 16 FBI agents with subpoenas after being mocked over his case whistleblowers. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, who infamously refused to honor a lawful subpoena from the U.S. House Select Committee on January 6th attack, requiring his testimony last year, on Friday issued a letter to FBI Director Chris Wray demanding 16 FBI agents testify before his committee or face subpoenas to do so. The letter is officially from the Judiciary Committee, but was tweeted out by the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, which is also chaired by Jordan. The new subcommittee has been the subject of scrutiny and mockery over the past 24 hours after Jordan claimed he had 3 FBI whistleblowers who Democrats, in a damning 300-page report, say have no firsthand knowledge of any wrongdoing. Oh, boy. I love when they drop a 300-page report on my lap for me to read. I'll get to it. Probably this weekend. Democrats are demanding Jordan make the 3 agents testify in public about the so-called weaponization. Raw Story reported a series of reports have shown that Jim Jordan's new weaponization subcommittee is based on lies. Witnesses who appeared at the hearings have spread conspiracy theories about Jan 6. Some have zero firsthand knowledge of any FBI wrongdoing, and some have been paid by Trump allies. New York Times reported at least 2 of the so-called whistleblowers were compensated by a Trump ally, Kash Patel, with get paid with cash or something committee that he did.
Seems like every time I turn around, they're engaged in surveillance or list building or monitoring, and I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI.
Yeah, defund the FBI. Yeah, run on that next time, asshole. Yeah. Anybody, if I may, any of you folks, and I know the answer to this question, but there's always new people. There's new, people gathering in. Fans of true crime, are you? You ever anybody watch those true crime shows? I'm a fan. I enjoy them. Some are hit and some are miss. Some of them you watch the same criminal or crime or serial killer thing from a different angle. You learn a detail perhaps that you didn't know. What you will find again and again and again in the case of especially missing and exploited women and children, murdered prostitutes, and victims of serial killers, you will find FBI agents especially working for years in some cases to find these guys, and most of them are guys, some of them are girls, and bring them to justice. And the families of these victims, a lot of times you'll see a press conference after they announce that they brought this, where the victims' families talk to, come up, then they thank the FBI for finally catching this fucker. Right? And what Matt Gaetz is saying is fuck those people. Remember, the Republicans love to bring up crime victims when they try to push back against defund the police, for example. When they're like or push this fear of immigrants, for example. They'll cherry pick incidents where somebody was murdered by an immigrant and say that that's part of the that it's the immigrant part that made that person a murderer and a danger, and everybody else with them, that group is of that ilk, as opposed to simply recognizing that some people are awful and most people aren't. And in this particular case, they will talk about victims of violent crime and how defund the police would leave those people, it would have left them in the lurch, and their child's killer never would have been brought to justice. That's true. It's so true that you don't need to hear it from Republicans. It's interesting, though, that when it comes to the FBI, these fuckers, it's okay to defund the FBI. No, it is not. It would be a terrible, terrible thing. It would be silly and misguided and wrong and dumb. It just matters who's in charge. And that was just a chat message that was in there. And Matt here wants to defund the FBI because he knows eventually they're going to catch him. That's why he wants it. This isn't about justice or misuse or any of the other reasons that people who aren't involved in a current investigation by the FBI or have been at any given time, wanting sort of revenge at the people who almost caught them and are worried they will catch them the next time around. The average person, when they're talk about this, is discussing about, like, bad agents or bad cops or individuals in that, and focusing largely on that, when indeed, for example, with police officers, 17,860 some odd police departments in the country, over 1 billion interactions between cops and civilians every year. 1 billion. From traffic tickets to arrest warrants and no knocks and all that kind of stuff. 1 billion times cops come in contact with humans, and pair that with the number of times that awful cops do awful things. It's very small compared to the overall numbers. Same thing with the FBI, same thing with any large group, by the way, except the Republican Party, it would seem. I know what you're saying. It's a small, it's a dwindling organization. It's getting smaller all the time. But still, the reason, don't let him put a worm on the hook. Why, thank you, Aaron.
EDC.
Bill M. Yeah, but it's daily. Yes, there are 365 days in here. Hold on one second. Okay, so there are 2.7 million interactions between police and civilians every day. Every single day. 2.7 million interactions. Cops pulling people over, all that kind of stuff. I know I turned the sound off for a reason, because I talked to Siri for a second and I didn't want it to trigger. 2.7 million times a day. Police pull somebody over, give them a ticket, exercise a warrant, all that stuff, all across the country. 2.7 million times a day. Does that make sense? You understand where I'm getting with this? Okay. So, again, 7 billion people, right? No, not on Earth, in America. Just in America. Matt Gaetz, do not confuse Matt Gaetz with a true believer or an honest broker in this circumstance. He wants the FBI dismantled because he knows eventually they're going to find what he's hiding. That is not the same as reform. That is not the same as brooming bad agents out of the system. And don't ever get baited into a conversation with an asshole like this, or allow them to lead your conversation about taking the bad out of something and get dragged into a throwing a baby out with the bathwater shit because this guy is paranoid that he's going to get caught one day.
ATF, DOJ, every last one of them.
Right. ATF, DOJ. This motherfucker does not give shit one about the number of murders and assaults that don't happen every year because of the people those folks take off the street.
If they do not come
because he doesn't want them looking at him
to heal.
If they don't, listen to that, if they don't come to heal.
And I don't think it's too much to ask. I really don't. And in this...
Yes, you do. It's too much to ask that we do not have a functioning judiciary in this country. That is too much to ask, you fucking moron.
This effort, I must...
The guy, he brings out the John Malkovich in me. You are a fucking asshole. You moron. Shut your mouth. All right, yeah.
To update you on an important update.
Oh, good. He's going to update us on an important update. Cool.
We have been taking whistleblower testimony.
Not so much.
From brave patriots.
Also, people who supported January 6th. I'm going to take issue with that word as well.
People who worked at the FBI.
Yeah. And wished cancer upon the president and supported the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Timothy McVeigh was a veteran. Those words don't give you an automatic fucking pass. I'm going to assume the best in people who have taken the oath most of the time. But if I have evidence to the contrary that prove they are an awful fucking person, they can fuck off. The same thing, I'll give you a great example, and you'll love this one because, you aspired to be on it, but Epstein's flight list. Look, if and when anyone who turns out flew to Epstein's Island to participate in that awful shit he had there, not smokescreen gatherings that he might have put together to try and balance out so he could, he could use rich and powerful people as a fucking shield to hide behind, which is very possible, but really participate there. Anybody who engaged in that shit, and I'm talking to you, Dershowitz, those folks, whether I like them or not, Clinton, whoever, if it turns out they participated in that stuff, fuck them. End of story. I got enough friends and I got enough heroes. That won't disappoint me. If I find out that somebody was participating in that kind of shit at any point in their life, bye-bye. Right? Simple enough. Even if I can take the disappointment. Trust me. If I go, oh, not them, that'll last about 15 seconds. And then the rest of the feeling will be, fuck that dude. Right? I don't know why that's hard for people to figure out. Right? You done, son. So, same thing with this motherfucker. That's what he's worried about.
And saw things like targeting Americans who attended school board meetings, like labeling.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen someone, a parent even, who's attended a school board meeting. Has anybody ever seen that? Of course you haven't, because you do not have the technology that the FBI has to spy on Americans and see which Americans are going to school board meetings. That's how lame this lie has gotten.
People, domestic extremists, because they
threatened to murder the principal of a school.
Expressed support for building the wall or the Second Amendment.
No, expressing support isn't the problem. Calling for Second Amendment solutions to an election that they lost is wholly different than saying, I'm pro 2A. Nobody gives a rat fuck what kind of camo bumper sticker you have on your phony pickup that you only drive to the mall, asshole.
Online, we had FBI agents telling us that they were cooking the books, where there would be normally one case that you would open up on domestic extremism. You had the Washington field office putting pressure on agents to open up separate cases on each individual so that there would be the veneer, the illusion, the appearance that all of our fellow Americans, that our neighbors, were somehow extreme and trying to overthrow our government.
Wait a minute. Let me get this right. Individuals get together and plot something. And the DOJ and the FBI wants those individuals to be investigated as part of the greater plot, and those individuals to be able to be tried individually in the justice system, as opposed to the normal way that we do crime prevention in the United States, which is, I guess, just herd people into a cattle car and drop them off at the prison?
When in fact that is not the case. And so
no, actually, what you're saying is not the case.
Took the deposition of a brave patriot named Garrett O'Boyle, who served in the FBI, who shared with us these things.
He was a sharing kind of a guy.
And yesterday,
Uh-oh. What happened? He's dead. He got pushed out a window by Vladimir Putin. No, who?
Judiciary Democrats put out a smear piece on him.
Oh my God, he was smeared? What did they say? They didn't show stuff he said, did they?
They took really out of context portions of his testimony. And
oh no. So obviously you're going to release the entire testimony so you can dunk on them since parts of it are out. I think the best thing is release his whole testimony so that people can see, right? That's what you're going to do?
they tried to discredit what he shared with us as a whistleblower
because he's full of shit?
He's a vaccine skeptic.
Oh, I see. He's just a skeptic. It's his skepticism they hate. Not what he said, not that he asserted that the vaccines will kill people and it's a plot by the deep state to poison everyone or some shit like that. It's that he's a skeptic. He scratched his chin and went, too many times at a meeting.
And because when the FBI left him without pay and without...
Oh my, they left him without pay. And no kiss and no towel.
The ability to earn other income.
He can't earn other income? Well, first of all, he is earning other income from Kash Patel. Secondly, what? He can't get employed anymore for what? What else does it say in his FBI file?
There were people who gave him a few $1,000s so that he was able to buy a winter coat for his children.
Oh my God. Get the fuck out of here. Buy a winter coat and a scrap of bread. They tossed a shilling into his cup so that this good man could buy a chicken leg for his whole family, and it was like a feast of the... Oh, my...
And be able to meet the month's bills. So we have an active case where we're working to corroborate this information.
Oh, okay, so you have not been able to corroborate the opinions that this guy expressed that show that he made no factual assertions. It's not like you have to check his facts, because insofar as we know, and you could always release his entire testimony and prove me wrong, but there were no facts stated. Good Lord.
To build the evidence, and Democrats...
You don't build evidence. You build a case with evidence, but it's an interesting Freudian slip, I think.
...are obstructing the investigation.
What? They're obstructing? They're not letting you look at what? How?
And so it is...
No. How? How are they obstructing your investigation? How? What are they doing? Do they get to file some sort of writ is there a rule in the Congress that you're not allowed to go read stuff in the skiff if you're on that committee unless you have the permission of at least 2 Democrats? The shit are you talking about?
No longer time to go back to the old low-energy Paul Ryan, Trey Gowdy days of fake oversight.
Yes, by the way, we will take a moment to sidestep our normal conversation to just shit on other Republicans apropos of nothing, because the CPAC crowd was starting to lose interest because they give a rat fuck about a dude who needs to pay for a coat for his kids. They're like, what a poor son of a bitch. Ew, don't talk about poor people. I don't care how he got that way. You'll get it on me.
These are the Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz days. And if the Democrats are going to obstruct our investigation,
they aren't.
Then I am calling to remove the Democrats from our investigation. They shouldn't be allowed to sit in the depositions and hear the evidence.
Well, I know what you're thinking. That's lunacy. It's horseshit. It's absurd. It sounds like somebody who wants to manipulate evidence before it's released, and his concern is that Democrats will sneak the truth out before they can build a lie. And you would be right.
If they are going to use that to try to get in the way of thorough, rigorous oversight, and I don't believe that means hearings where we yell at people.
Dude, you don't participate in hearings where you don't yell at people.
I think that means a fundamental
Hal, tell us why that's so wrong. Which part? Good Lord. It's fucking gibberish.
Shaping of this government, a reshaping of this town.
You're not in DC.
So every time I give talks like this and meet with our great activists, I always get a question at some point where people say,
"Is that your real hair?
Do you still have hope?"
Yeah. Do you still have? Oh, you seem like, yeah. This is. I mean, I understand. I was telling people for a year and a half, Matt, that Joe Biden was a spitting image doll on an Amazon set, and he wasn't even allowed in the White House, and Trump was still president, and that the infrastructure bill that was passed was actually had Trump's signature on it, and that they photoshopped the version they were on, and then yet every time I turn around, Biden's still there. And do you still have hope?
Can we even still save this thing, this great experiment? And I know we can. And here's what I would say.
He means the Republican Party, by the way, which is obviously something found in a lab in a petri dish that someone had ignored and was the opposite of penicillin.
Say, even though at your job it may feel like you're outnumbered, sometimes even in your social groups, it may feel like you can't wave your MAGA flag at full mast.
Yeah, you know, if there's like Jews or minorities or gay people around and they're a little edgy about, you know, cult-like behavior, it makes them slightly nervous, you know, those moments.
But I saw what a group of parents did in Loudoun County who at first were outnumbered. I saw what pilots did at Southwest Airlines who stood up against the vaccine mandate. I saw what Navy...
Yeah, slowed flights unnecessarily for a while and made it so that they had to step aside so that people wouldn't be trapped in a fucking tube for hours with somebody who might have a contagious disease at the height of an epidemic when we didn't have vaccines yet.
These SEALs did, who got injunctions so that now we are in a position to, in a Republican House of Representatives, restore every one of our military patriots with their full rank and back pay. And all of you saw what 20 members of the House of Representatives did when...
Yes, you embarrassed Kevin McCarthy and made your party the laughingstock of the world. Yeah, it was great. That I was for. Again, the greatest success of Matt Gaetz's career, making his own party look like a bunch of assholes.
We demanded change in a corrupt town. These are different times. They are new times. They call for boldness and patriotism. It is the honor of my life to fight alongside each and every one of you. Go to mattgaetz.com, join my fight, vote for Donald J. Trump in the CPAC straw poll, and let's go get him. Thank you.
Ladies.
Yes, just selling it right to the end. Yeah, it's just, yep, it's gonna be a winner. It's gonna, I don't know more, what more could you possibly say?